Oh, markets dumping, Bitcoin bull run is over, altcoins crashing to zero. That's what some people are fearing. Everybody's so worried right now. I've got some charts that you all need to see. Everybody, let's get this tweeted out. Let's retweet this space. We're live here on YouTube as well as on X. And we got some key signals we want to watch. Should you be selling everything or should you be selling your dollars for more crypto? I think this is a great opportunity. We're going to talk about why. We also got Mr. Matthew Hyland in the fold today, as well as Kevin Svenson joining here in just a few minutes. I'm just getting this retweeted on the, so it's live on X as well as on Twitter. And with that being said, let me make sure I get all the things posted. We're going to be diving in. I want to do a roll call right now. If you're alive and well, if your portfolio is red, but you're okay with it because you're buying or just sitting on your hands, get active in the live chat right now. I want to see everybody participate and say, what's up? What are you doing? What are you buying? What's your strategy right now? Let me go ahead and post the comment here, and we're going to get this going live right now. I want to see everybody getting active. Let's get it. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Markets are absolutely dumping, but are they really, or are we just being little bitches right now, only looking to see actual opportunities arising before this market runs away? DeepSeek, it's, oh my God, it's underpinning, or it's basically shaking up the entire equities market as well as what's going on with the tech sector. Does it really matter? Is it all just a big FUD narrative? We're going to dive in and look at this. We got Mr. Kevin Svenson and Matthew Hyland on board on this one, but we got to talk about what's going on because I think far too many people are getting far too fearful when you look at this market and realize that this is just a beautiful move up. We have this downward channel here, and then, oh, what, a breakout up? And what do we see here? Oh, is this just currently only a retest of this level? 10% to the downside, and people are losing their minds. Is the bull run over? What the hell are you talking about? We got to do this. I know we've done this before, but let's just take a revisit here on some of these dips back in 2017. 37% down, 42% down, 34% down, 34% down, 44% down, 41%, all in the midst of a strong bullish move to the upside. And yet we're over here with a 10% move to the downside. And people are saying, is it over? Should I sell everything? Well, my argument is, and this is not financial advice, my argument is, yeah, sell all your dollars, sell it all, sell everything you have that's not in the crypto market and figure out, AKA when you're buying crypto, you are, basically selling out of other assets. And so where this stands right now, in fact, and I've said this before, in fact, if we even dipped further and got down into this 93 level, if we dipped further and got down into this 89 to 87K level, if we dipped further and got all the way down into this 77K level, would that worry you? Would that scare you? Are you overexposed? Or could you look at this as opportunity because we have some of the most bullish things in history lining up? But people saw this today and they go, it's over. And Arthur Hayes also is echoing, what if we get all the way down to 70K, which I don't think we're going to get. But you do need to be aware of it because when you're looking at what's going on, remember, if you're wondering if now is a time to sell Bitcoin, that there might not be an alt season. I meant to put alt there, but you're not going to make it. You're not. Why? Because we have a crypto government now, a positive crypto government instituting the types of things we want to see to support growth in this market. Fair value accounting. So now corporations can hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets without it being essentially a liability or a burden to their shareholders because it's not being able to list like they do other equities and assets that they hold. SAB 121 acts. Now banks can start holding Bitcoin and also not have it listed on their balance sheets as a liability as well. Also could lend to them, not only buying, but custodying and plenty of other mechanisms there. The strategic Bitcoin framework is instituted, but we didn't get an executive order. Who gives a shit? I would prefer that there isn't an executive order for strategic Bitcoin reserve anyway. We got a bill on the floor. I would rather to see the government bipartisan votes from our Senate and House of Congress to basically institute this. We are on the track for that to happen in the very near future, within that 180-day mark that they talked about on those executive orders regarding the digital asset stockpile. And then, of course, the world is moving to blockchain. In fact, Doge, the US government, may be looking to institute some of their practices on the blockchain. And so, yet some people are worried because of what we saw with the DeepSeek. And why is Bitcoin crashing? Why are the alts crashing? It's not an altcoin or crypto crash. This was a broader market pullback as well. You see on NASDAQ, massive move to the downside. And then you see basically all this stuff being now debated. Was it even warranted that we should have been so upset? Was it even warranted that this is sort of shaking up this idea of potentially some of the tech stocks, some of the AI narrative is a little overvalued because of how cheap the Chinese DeepSeek was able to roll out? But it's being contested. They're saying there's no way they're doing this without, X number of the NVIDIA H100s. In fact, they're suggesting that it might be up to 50,000. Now, why wouldn't they say that? It's because there's sanctions against China and being able to hold those NVIDIA chips. So Elon Musk here agrees as well. He says, you take the claims that this was done on a shoestring budget, AKA not with all these advanced chipsets, etc. Elon Musk doesn't agree either. And then we see right after that, all that FUD, then we see, I said, and V-shaped recovery engaged. But why was this? Because about 2 hours ago, we see DeepSeek has restricted registration to its services, only allowing users that have a mainland China mobile phone number. So all of a sudden, that access is closed off. So I do think that this was more of a shakeup than anything. We're going to be getting, we got Mr. Kevin Svenson and Matthew Hyland, who I'm going to be bringing up here in just a moment. But I do want to just show you this. Typically, when you get these flips in funding rates, Kelly, what the hell is a funding rate? This is a beautiful way to immediately see, are most people long or short? So, of course, everybody's long here. You could tell because the funding rates are positive, AKA it costs you money to take a leveraged long or derivatives long position. It's basically incentivizing people that are going short to help balance the market. And then right here, when you see this flipping red, very little, you can see, let me see if I can zoom in. Oops. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. That flipped red. And the second it flipped red, what do we see in the market? When everybody went short, let's go down to the 1 hour. When everybody went short, zooming in here, we got that bounce, basically indicating when all retail agrees in one direction, especially in a moment like this, the market says, I'm not going to let you have it that easy. So considering that, we're going to be looking at some other data here. We got some charts we're going to be going over with Matthew and Kevin, and just realize that, look at this, everybody's selling. Okay, reverse. And all of a sudden you get positive buy pressure delta. And I mean, we're going to go over a number of these things, but then remember the global liquidity also started ticking up. This is that fuel for that next move if this does persist and continue higher. And remember, we do have that FOMC meeting on Wednesday, which Trump is indicating that he really wants rate cuts, but he's not the one that's a determining factor in that. It's going to have to, it's going to be more in line with what Jerome Powell and the Fed members say. But let's see what happens, especially with this massive shakeout we had today in the markets. But with that being said, let's get over to our home skillets here. Do I have everybody in the room? Let me make sure I got all your stuff assigned. And here we go. Mr. Matthew Hyland, Kevin Svenson, the crew, the Alpha Mondays. What's up, my brothers?
What's up, guys?
What is up?
How's it going? Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for being here. And we had to limit the robot. We couldn't let the robot come back. We have Mr. Matthew Hyland himself. We figured out what the issue was. So how you doing, Matt?
Good. Another week where everything's dumping. It seems like every Monday we always get this huge dump. Definitely interesting, and obviously, like you said, a lot of it, I guess, was driven by the stock market selling off because of the DeepSeek stuff. But I would say there's always news stories, right, that we could always like kind of point to. But then usually a few months later, they essentially become irrelevant. So at the time, there's like high fear. Back in August, remember we had that huge dump across the board for the stock market and crypto and stuff. There was reasons for it. I don't remember what the reasons even were, right? Does anyone remember? But at that time, it was very significant for a lot of people. So a lot of people are talking about DeepSeek. No one heard of DeepSeek 2 days ago, but today it's like the hottest story. I don't really, I mean, I looked into it, but I think at the end of the day, competition is good and competition drives everything, especially markets. So if there's competition, you know, then the American AI manufacturers and stuff will have to compete. So, which is usually
No,
better. Usually when there's competition, it drives things, it expedites things faster. So
absolutely. And I feel like maybe there was just an overhyped bullishness around the new administration, and that meant things were just going to go up only. And this created potentially that sort of scenario where I find this, I'm not, FUD's the wrong word. It just feels like a stirring of the pot with this narrative today that really gave the markets an opportunity to flush out some stuff. And then basically, if I had to guess, we'll probably continue higher probably next week, following Wednesday. It's going to be a little bit determined on the tonality and Jerome Powell's comments at the press conference after the FOMC decision on Wednesday. But yeah, so Matt, last week when we had you on, we couldn't get to your charts. We couldn't break things down because the robot voice was
is my mic
broken there.
echoing? Because someone's saying that my
A little
microphone's
bit.
echoing.
I think your mic's fine. You might have your gate high a little bit, but I hear you fine.
There is a slight echo, but I mean, I wouldn't worry about it too. I mean, there's not much you can do right now, probably, but
All right. So yeah, let's just get into the charts then. Look at Bitcoin. Broke down below. I always use the 10 SMA and the 43 SMA to identify the lows. We came back down here and reached it, found support at the 43 SMA. So I think that's interesting. I think the Bitcoin structure overall is fine. I do see people calling for a breakdown of this whole structure. But if you go back over the past year and a half or 2 years, every single time we've had these consolidation structures, people have called for like a breakdown of 25K. It didn't happen. Over here, we had this little breakdown, recovered it, but didn't really break down. This whole area, people were calling for a breakdown below the 50K area. Didn't happen. And usually these areas seem to hold well as support. So I would say that Bitcoin has significant support around the 91, 92K area. But Bitcoin is really not what most people, want. I mean, people want to hear about Bitcoin, but they want to hear about alts. And we'll go to Bitcoin dominance, right? You look at Bitcoin dominance, I would say it's essentially, if you look at the macro view, in a gigantic uptrend, it's lower. The last high was essentially in November, and it formed this kind of, I'd say, pennant formation, kind of a triangle formation, and it broke upward, kind of seeing a large wick today. We'll see how that ends up going. But really, the bigger thing is whether it will make a higher high above here, which would be around 60%, or a lower low below this low down here around 56.6%. So I would say Bitcoin dominance is in this range, waiting for a decision. But if you go back historically, right, go back on the quarterly time frame, quarter one of 2017 was the start of a large drop off for Bitcoin dominance. Up until then, it was kind of just sideways, I guess you could say. This was the largest monthly or quarterly candle for Bitcoin dominance, broke down. And then the whole year, it saw 3 more red candles. And then you go to 2021, broke down, whole year, red candles on the quarterly time frame. So even though it's currently in the green, it's only currently January. I would say based on history, right? It still favors. I'm going to favor that this will still end up closing in the red. You go back to 2017, the first example. This breakdown essentially started around this time frame, and this was March. So in March of 2017, it had its first leg down. But in 2021, this started way back essentially in January. So 2 different paths. It does appear it's kind of more like 2017 so far, because in 2017, it started a little bit later. You could make the case that this did actually start in November with this first breakdown, but we don't really know yet. Obviously, if this ends up making another high, then that obviously was not the case. So a lot of this is depending on Bitcoin dominance, and a lot of this is also depending on Ethereum. And Ethereum, similarly, it did not break all-time highs in the 2017 cycle right here until March. But in 2021, at this point, 4 years ago, it was already at all-time highs. This was January of 2021, February or early February, late January of 2021. ETH was already at all-time highs. So it's definitely not playing out like 2021 at this point, right? Because if it was, we would be at all-time highs, and we're about, I think, 30 or 40% below all-time highs. So the best case scenario I'd say at this point is that this ends up breaking out to all-time highs in March like it did in 2017. But it has to start doing it, right? This is showtime. It's the quarter where these changes should start to happen, where Ethereum starts to move up, Bitcoin's dominance starts to break down. If it doesn't happen, then we would have to really kind of reconsider, I would say, if this cycle is going to be completely different. But we still have a lot of time, so we'll end up seeing what's happening with that.
So what do you make of the narrative? Like right now, is there reason, is there cause for concern with the DeepSeek sort of shakeup and this question? I think there's a lot of questions in people's minds. Does this change your outlook on the AI narrative in crypto and potentially the AI agent narrative? Or is this just more likely just something that's shaking up the confidence that we still have great opportunity there?
I haven't put enough thought into it since the news came out last night. I'm not like too familiar exactly. I know it was basically that they said $10 million to make that AI app, which was a lot cheaper. I still think in this year, especially, I think the AI and AI agent stuff will probably continue to grow and become a larger and larger story. And this would actually help contribute to it, I would think. Maybe in a way, if the AI tech is becoming cheaper and more advanced, this will allow capital. Let's say if it is cheaper to make what they did, then that would allow all that other capital to now kind of progress further, right? So I think it overall is not for the AI stuff, not like a negative, but maybe I'm looking at it in the wrong way. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. What
Yeah.
are you looking at? What's your thoughts on everything going on, Mr. Kev?
Oh, well, so the AI narrative, basically, I think what happened overnight was that over the weekend, DeepSeek came out and it shook up the market. It's faster, more efficient, and cheaper than really what any AI company is offering to the market right now. And I think a lot of speculators saw that and were just like, what the hell? Like, wait, so we're investing all this money into these huge companies with these huge market caps, and then this tiny, this team or project, as they claim, has now released something that is better, more powerful, cheaper, faster, better at reasoning, like all these things, and it doesn't cost people anything to use it. And so there might be a little bit of a repricing going on in the AI market where it's possible that a lot of the US AI companies have been keeping some of this stuff hush hush, and they're actually sitting on things that are similar, but they realize they can make more money if they don't release those things, and now they're getting punished for it for being greedy because somewhere else in the world they say, hey, here you go, open source, here it is for you, and then all these AI companies are put into question. So I think it's possible that the U.S. companies didn't expect a Chinese company to just step up and release something open source, right? You really think like China open source? That, I don't know. It was probably an unexpected move for a lot of the U.S. companies, and now they're paying for it. And now you know what they're going to have to do. Now the U.S. companies are going to have to settle for releasing better products for cheaper, which is great for the consumer. This goes back to Matt's point about competition ultimately being good for the market, right? So this is ultimately a good thing. Right now it looks bad, and U.S. tech.
We had a major, oh my God, major crash today of, what, like $4,000, $5,000. Has it changed? Has it changed your outlook on what you're seeing on the charts, or is everything still
No, I
basically
mean,
100% on course?
go to the lower time frames, and it's an incredible bear market. If you hold on, let me zoom in on the 15-minute chart, and then yeah, it's horrible, right? It's terrible. But if you go back to the weekly, you realize, oh, wait a minute, Bitcoin's still elevated, trading around 100,000. In November, At the end of October, if you ask people, where do you think Bitcoin will be at the new year? And you said 100K, they would have laughed. A lot of you guys would have laughed at somebody who said that because no one expected these 1, 2, 3 weeks of a straight line up. But it happened, and now we're just settling up sideways right near the all-time high. Bitcoin is still right near the all-time high. It's elevated off the parabolic trend line. This is an exponential higher low. This is a parabolic trend, and it would actually be pretty difficult to get Bitcoin to not be in a parabola right now. It would have to go sideways for months and then break down, and then it would have to basically just do nothing and go down for months in order to break out of this parabola. So on the larger time frames, whatever, baby price action we had in the short term overnight over the weekend, it doesn't really change it doesn't change the bigger picture at all. It hasn't made a dent in the parabola at all. We're positioned really well, really nicely, and Bitcoin will probably see continuation up from this point. I think. I don't see why not. There's nothing wrong with the trend. That's Bitcoin, though, and as Matthew was just saying, a lot of people, the sentiment that we're seeing is not really coming out of Bitcoin. Because if you're a Bitcoin holder and you've been buying, I don't know, let's just say since 2020, and you're still buying all the way through, well, every dip in Bitcoin history was a buy. Every dip buy in Bitcoin history is currently in a profit. Every single dip buy in Bitcoin history is currently in a profit. Let that sink in, right? So Bitcoin is doing extremely well. It's priced at 6 figures, more or less, right? And so that's not the problem here for people. The issue is you get a Bitcoin dip and the altcoins are dropped like a hot potato, right? They just instantly dump, and people are really upset about that. And that's really what's driving the negative sentiment. And if you look at the Bitcoin chart with the Bitcoin halving cycle profit indicator, this indicator is really a global liquidity cycle profit indicator. Because if I were to just remove the Bitcoin price, see if I can do that here. If I remove the Bitcoin price and I go to the halving cycle profit and I just remove like the DCA so we can see this a little bit cleaner, maybe remove weekly profit start. And so it's kind of just like this. So you'll see halving 80 weeks later, the bear market really begins. And if I pull up the M2 Global Liquidity Index candles, which is something else I released on TradingView, you can see that it just so happens to be that 80 weeks after the halving, it just so happens to be when the global liquidity begins to retract. And so it goes, for whatever reason, maybe Satoshi is a genius and released Bitcoin at the perfect timing in the cycle to line up with global liquidity, which is quite possible. Having 80 weeks later, roughly, retracement in global liquidity. Having 80 weeks later, retracement in global liquidity. Having, 80 weeks later, maybe another retracement in global liquidity. And so if we bring back Bitcoin, if I can here, just a moment, you can see that 80 weeks after each halving, the price is pulling back. 80 weeks later, that's when the bear market really begins. And so the 40th week, depending on which cycle you're looking at, most of the time, the bull market just starts to get really good at the 40th week. In the last cycle, Bitcoin kind of hit a top at the 40th week. Now, there's an interesting dynamic taking place that's sort of like the opposite of last cycle, where in the beginning of last cycle, we had zero rates and then a ton of money printing. And so there was less pressure on markets in the beginning of the cycle. We actually went up really quickly at the beginning. Things went really well at the earliest part of the cycle. And then as the Fed started to open their mouth towards the end of the cycle, this is where things got bad. Things got heavier on the market. And so now it's almost in reverse, where things are heavy on the market early. High risk assets are not getting very much play. Rates are at the highest level since 2007. The Fed balance sheet is still seeing runoff. And so there's pressure on the market. And so we're almost like heavy at the beginning. And I think as things cycle, it was light in the beginning, heavy at the end. In this cycle, it's heavy in the beginning and probably lighter at the end in terms of the pressure from the Fed. So the Fed, I think, this cycle has started with the screw really tight from the Fed. And as this cycle goes on, I think they're going to loosen the screw as opposed to last cycle, they tightened it towards the end. And so I think it's almost just like the weight on the cycle is heavy on the start. And so high risk assets are not getting very much speculation. They're not getting very much play. Low cap coins are not getting speculated on all too much. People are sticking with like the surefire, OG coins that are US based that Trump likes. Those are the stuff that seems to be pumping right now, right? I mean, it's like you had like Cardano pump, XRP pump, Chainlink pumped, Sui's pumping, I'm talking about the bigger picture here. A lot of those coins are going up nicely, and everything else is taking a back seat because nobody wants to take too much risk on things that are not all too certain. And that is also a result of the Fed not being predictable. The Fed is not acting in a predictable way. And actually, me and Matthew Hyland were both in a chat last night, in a voice chat, just me and him. And we were just talking about how the Fed funds rate in 2017 was going up, and so was Bitcoin. And we were just talking about how the Fed was predictable. Everyone knew what the Fed was going to do. The Fed said what they were going to do, and then they did what they said they were going to do. And so people felt comfortable to take risk because they knew the playbook. Now people don't really know. The Fed's like, maybe we won't have as many rate cuts. Maybe we will. It's all going to be based on the data. We're not too sure yet. And so people are a little bit just like skeptical. And so the high risk stuff is not getting as much play yet at the beginning of the cycle. But I think towards the end, you're going to get more play into the high risk stuff as the Trump presidency moves along.
So what
what's
kind
interesting
of stuff
about that
is
too?
on y'all's radar right now in terms of, obviously we're seeing some dips across the board. Is there any niche sectors you're looking at, or particular coins that you want to drop some charts and some levels to put on people's radar?
Wait, was that? I'm sorry, Matt. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's interesting is actually like you were saying, with people being more certain about what the Fed is going to do. A year ago, actually, right, a lot of the altcoins in general were performing a lot better, right? And really, like a year ago, if we think about it, I think it's like hard to remember exactly, but people knew that the Fed weren't going to cut rates until later in the year, I believe. So people felt more certain about what the Fed was going to do at that time, and altcoins were fine, right? We had higher rates a year ago. A lot of altcoins were going up December, January, February, March, April of last year. We had quantitative tightening as well. The Fed balance sheet was shrinking at that time, as it is currently. We also had a dilution of altcoins too. A lot of people are looking for specific reasons, I feel like, today as to why, but a lot of those reasons were applicable a year ago, and most alts were going up, right? Pretty much, I would say across the board, everything, some did better than others, but it wasn't like how we have seen since last March. I'd say since last March of last year, it's been like a few things here and there. Like in August, there was a few coins that popped harder, like Phantom, Tau. There's certain coins, but then since then they lost a lot of their strength, right? And then in November we saw certain coins pop, but a year ago most stuff was going up. So I think, like, looking for reasons, like the dilution of coins, like I do agree there's going to be millions and millions and probably billions of coins, but there's always going to be a top 100, top 200, top 250 coins that are going to be, make up 99% of the market cap, and that was true in
Matt,
2017.
you actually shared a post the other day that had that graphic. Do you want to pull up that post? Because that was a beautiful post.
If you can find it on my Twitter account, I'm using the different web browser right now, so I'm not like logged in to my Twitter. If you can do it on your end, perhaps. But yeah, there's going to be another, but there was millions of coins last year, right? But the top coins, like top 100, top 200, all went up. So like these reasons if they were true, then last year wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have seen a lot of alts move a year ago. This was the Fed balance sheet. If you look even back in 2017, it was going down, and that you could open up that post again that I had. This was a chart, and I basically said if crypto was diluted, it is diluted, but the top 150 coins make up 99% of the market cap, right? And this was true in 2017 and in 2021. So it's the millions of garbage coins that are the dilution, but the top stuff is still, in general, the top stuff, right? That hasn't changed. So
Well,
I think this is more.
I was going to say, it's kind of interesting how Solana has the most coins being created on it and is also doing the best. So it's not necessarily that either, right? The dilution. There's other factors.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm. Well, the dilution is
Right.
the dilution of all the extra coins. Like, there's people keep saying, "Oh, there's billions of coins now," but 99% of the market cap is in the top 200, probably, and that was the same as 2017 and in 2021. So I don't think like that is a specific reason for most alts not doing much in general. I think it's like you said. I think it has to do with the certainty of what the Fed is going to do, and with the FOMC meeting on Wednesday, maybe they'll be more clear. Maybe the administration change kind of has led to more uncertainty for what the Fed is going to do, and obviously Trump is asking for rate cuts. So kind of people are like, wait, are we going to get rate cuts, or is the Fed going to put the hammer down and essentially say, no, we're not cutting rates. We're going to do what we want to do. And then maybe once when people know that more or less, then it would add to more certainty. But right now, today, there's definitely a lot of uncertainty of whether we're going to get rate cuts, if it's going to stay stable. Are they going to have to raise rates? I don't think so, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I did ask a question earlier and we didn't get into it. And just so everybody knows, I'm having a little bit of issue listening because I have to mute myself while they're talking because my echo cancellation is not working. So I'm just kind of throwing it their way. But right now, I would argue that we're still kind of seeing this opportunities arise while we still. I mean, would you both agree that we still have a pretty bullish landscape despite this dip? And if so, are there any coins that you've been stacking or looking like, oh my God, this is actually setting up, finally giving us another opportunity? I know a lot of AI agents like AIXBT, a number of other agents in the AI sector kind of took a pretty big hit over this last week. Are you looking in that sector at all? Are you focused more on the RWA, utility? Like, where's your focus right now in this dip?
I mean, I would say that the AI sector is one of the most surefire sectors for altcoins. It's one of the sectors that isn't going to like lose its narrative completely. There's going to be hot moments, cold moments. And I think that ultimately, I mean, AI is obviously the most transformative technology ever. In my opinion, people don't like when I say this, but in my opinion, AI is more transformative than blockchain, far more. But I think the currency of choice for AI is blockchain, so it does go hand in hand as well. But I think the AI sector is probably one of the ones that, like, if you see a nice dip in that sector and you have projects that you think are good, it's probably a great opportunity to buy it at a better price, right? Because the AI narrative, yeah, you mean there's some FUD today, but does that mean that it's over? Does that mean that the AI narrative is over? Absolutely not. It's going to continue. It's going to recover. There's going to be more hype, more news, more this, more that. It's AI. The narrative will continue.
Yeah, and they were also trying to push the money into that sector too with the open AI. I think it was $100 billion they're going to try pushing to the on the stock market mostly, but I'm sure that money will trickle in. A lot of these projects do have ties to a lot of the bigger companies that are listed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Well, I'm gonna, because I do charts on here all day long, every day with the community. We got the benefit of the two alpha masters here. So let's look at some of the other charts you guys are peeking at on here, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, or other related sort of tangential broader market data points. Let's drop this alpha for these folks. And by the way, everybody tuned in, make sure you're heading over to Matthew Hyland's page, which is right here at Matthew Hyland _. You can see that right there. Make sure you give him a follow. And of course, Kevin Svenson, which is at Kevin Svenson _ right there. They both drop content all day long, every day, and they have great communities. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, recently I was just going to say that
Yeah.
I've been focused more on the broader stuff recently, just the general altcoin cycle. But I don't know if Matt, you have anything specific in terms of specific coins you wanted to go into. I think that's more so what Kelly was asking about.
I mean, specifically, like, it's a lot of stuff is in general sitting on support, so it's hard to like say like I could like a project, but the chart, a lot of these charts, especially for AI stuff, is not really looking that great currently, I'd say, but not much of the market really is. We could do like see if people have any questions on the side, like about specific coins, perhaps.
Well, we see virtuals, AIXBC. I think he meant to say AIXBT. You guys throw some coins in there. We could take a look at these. We got we got about 3,000 people tuned in. So shout out to everybody that is here. Make sure you're hitting that like button, subscribing, getting active in the live chat. Whether you're watching on Twitter or on YouTube, I can see the whole live chat here. So love to get y'all's input.
Let me move this. Virtuals is an interesting chart, right? I don't own this, but this was one of the best charts. This was actually probably the best chart of the past few months. This is a coin that we all wish we were all in, essentially since September. I think it went up like 500x or something. Let me see if I could measure this. Oops.
Quick little tip: if you just click on the chart and then press Shift and click, you automatically get a measuring tool.
Oh, really? All right. Yeah, this is up like 16,000% since September. But it does look like, let me remove this. You look at this chart, this does look like a
Yeah, does that worry you at all with that massive, what's perceptible sort of head and shoulders there?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it has support down here, though. If you look at this, I wanted to enter this coin back here when it was sitting around in this range right here, essentially. Oops, between $1.90 and $1.20. That was the first time I really heard about it at this move up. It never really pulled back, right? It was up significantly. It was up like 4x at that point. Never really pulled back. Just continued upward. Kind of getting back into that range now. So I think if it can come down to this area, this was the area I was kind of eyeing. So that'd be ideal. I don't know if it will end up breaking down, but this does look like some sort of head and shoulders top. And this is basically the hottest, essentially one of the hottest AI plays overall since the summer. This was the AI agent stuff that's on base. It's gained a lot of attention, of course, with AIXBT as well. I can go to that chart next. Let's see. This is AIXBT. Kind of breaking down, coming back into this range, was sitting on the support. But this is a relatively newer chart, so it's hard to do TA on something that's really new. This chart only goes back to December 1st, so there's not much price history. Has gone up, kind of stair-stepping upward. We'll see if it can recover off of this. Want to see it probably get back above 63 cents. But this is that AIXBT account that's on X that's just growing exponentially. It was at, I think it only was created in November. And I think now it's probably at like 400 or 500,000 followers. It's adding 10,000 followers a day. So I've posted about it on X before. I think like at the rate it's going to probably get to millions of followers by the end of this year. Probably is going to flip Sailor, going to flip CZ, going to flip all the largest crypto Twitter accounts. It's going to be the largest crypto Twitter account. Probably by the end of the year, within a few months. So its presence is like very large. It has a lot of social media dominance. So that's more of like why I wasn't it was somewhat because of the chart, but I think just like a lot of things in crypto are based on social metrics. So if something's dominating, I would want to give it a shot. And that thing is obviously really dominating currently.
Yeah, we got a number of other charts people have asked in here. You know, Cardano kind of had a bit of a leg up, and it reset back to some levels that I broke down for you guys here that's been tuned in. I was talking about going sub $1, going down to the mid 80s, potentially even a little bit deeper, and we're kind of seeing that. Do you guys feel like this sort of narrative with Cardano potentially, integrating with Bitcoin in some capacity in May, is this a positive boon for Cardano, or is Cardano, like, what are you seeing on that?
I would just look at the chart, and in my opinion, the chart looks pretty good. This is probably one of the better charts in crypto currently. But the one thing though is a lot of the better charts, and I talked about this to my Patreons last night and been mentioning it over the past few weeks. A lot of the better charts currently were not really the stronger charts in August, right? Off of this August low, Cardano didn't really do too much. So if the market doesn't, get some sort of liquidity, there's always a chance that the stronger coins, if you look at this, this is looking strong. It could always come back down, and not that I would want to see it come down, but a perfect example of this would be Phantom, right? Phantom, off of the August lows, was one of the hottest coins, right? Came up here, was one of the strongest coins, and then slowly lost all of its strength. There's really only been a few coins in this whole market that have moved up a lot and have successfully retained their strength over the past year and a half. And that's really Solana, which moved up a lot last year and then kind of has held on to those the upside, never really went back down to 30, 40, $50. And then Sui moved up a lot since August and has held on to most of its upside. However, it is starting to kind of lose some support lately over the past day or so. So the thing is, for me, is if you're a short-term trader, there's always like the trading opportunities with the coins that are looking stronger. But if you chase, right, if you chase the strength back in the summer, right, if you chase something like Phantom, it's now, it's underperformed the weaker coins from back then. The weaker coins were Cardano, XRP, Doge. A lot of those coins didn't move up after the August low. Like they kind of, they all had similar types of charts where they kind of moved up, but it wasn't much, right? So if you sold a perceived weak coin into a stronger coin, unless it was Sui, you probably actually end up underperforming. So if you were to sell perceived weaker coin now into a stronger coin, there's always a chance, right? This could come back down, and that would really expedite or, increase your losses essentially, if that were to take place. So I hope that these coins can hold the strength. XRP, Cardano, there's a few of them like HBAR. I hope that they can hold it, because everything that's moved up has slowly lost it, except for the two I just said, Sui and Sol, essentially. So maybe some smaller ones have moved up, but for the larger ones, it's just been a few coins. So,
well, what do you all make of, the speculation? Because there's jokes or rumors or ideas that there's a speculative made in the USA narrative. I would get, because all these coins that are looking like this sort of pattern, they're all kind of in or thought to be in that narrative of made in the USA, potential no capital gains. Is there going to be a bit of a capital focus in that? What would you say, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, there kind of has already been that, don't you think? Like we've seen, I'm just pulling up a couple charts here because I noticed that, for example, like Chainlink and Cardano are similar, it seems, in their overall structure and behavior. If you look at Cardano on the right, Chainlink on the left, I mean, how different are they really? Not that different. Their pumps took place at it was almost like Cardano's pump took place like a week earlier or something like that, or it was almost the same exact timing, right? So
yeah, it was around the same time.
If you look, what's pretty clear is that these coins are not acting alone. All right, there's a concentration of capital. There are players stepping in for a reason into certain coins, and they're stepping in and stepping out. Chainlink on the left, Cardano on the right. very much the same, very much aligned. You can see, let me just push up, whoops, move pane up. Okay, you can see, even like, look at this. The MACD is the same on both. The RSI is the same on both. I have to double check. Are these two different charts or not? So I'm gonna make sure. It is
Yeah, it looks
Chainlink and
exactly the
Cardano.
same.
It's the exact same thing. So there's a concentration of capital coming in to certain coins within a certain sector, and in this case, the sector is U.S. based coins. I think Chainlink and Cardano both fall under that category, I believe. If we go to U.S. tokens, you see on this website, which I just started using, drops tab, XRP, Solana, Cardano, Chainlink, right? And the list goes on. And you're looking at these two, it's really the same exact thing. So I think that the made in the USA narrative is going to be a real narrative. There may even be like made in the USA crypto 10 ETF or something, right? There's going to be a US basket of cryptos hitting Wall Street at some point. It's going to happen. And so what the trajectory of these projects, the way that things have been going for Chainlink and Cardano and whatever other US cryptos, I think it's going to take a drastic turn for the better for these projects. For a long time, I really didn't have any belief in Cardano or XRP, to be quite honest. Obviously, I missed those pumps. So it sucks for me, right? People are going to say, "Oh, Kev, you're the worst. You don't like Cardano and XRP." Well, what I'm saying is there's an update to that opinion, and that is because Trump is in office and he's going to try to make U.S. coins great. I think there's going to be a lot more money being invested in things like Cardano, Chainlink, and XRP, and I think they're going to be developed, and I think they're all going to play a major role in the future of blockchain. Probably, most likely, we'll see. I know that Chainlink will, for sure. You guys know I've been a fan of Chainlink for a very long time. But I think that the narrative is going to change for a lot of these top US coins in a very good way. And so, where we thought these coins were headed, it might take a shift for the better for a lot of them. I think that's just something that a lot of people might have a hard time accepting, but I think that's just the way it's going to go.
Do you think that Chainlink? Because I feel like Chainlink is one of the probably most undervalued coins, or I'm just too bullish on it. Because of how integrated it is with the traditional finance world, with Web 2, bridging Web 2 to Web 3, with how many different crypto projects it's integrated with across the crypto ecosystem, the partnerships or the integrations that it may have with Swift and DTCC. I mean, the list is extraordinary. Is there suppression going on that? Of course, the price on everything right now is kind of struggling, but it just surprises me that this, how could this not be larger than Solana? How could this not be larger than, in anything that's above it other than Bitcoin because of how integrated it is? It really blows my mind. Is it just a gem?
Well, I think that, I feel like Chainlink is actually at a fair market price right now, and a lot of other things are overvalued. And Chainlink is actually at the correct valuation, and a lot of things are way above fair value. Because this market is highly speculative, right? It makes sense that Solana is, where it is right now at this moment because of how many people have come in on social media, celebrities telling people to download, what is it, like Phantom Wallet and these things, celebrities launching coins, Trump launching, it's like, okay, Solana makes sense, right? Ethereum at the moment, it's really lackluster. It still has the highest total value locked across all chains. Ethereum is still 62 billion TVL, and then Solana's 9%. Sorry, 52%. Ethereum has 52% of all total value locked. Solana is 9%. So Ethereum, if anything, is the thing that's really suppressed, I think. It depends on how you look at it, honestly. Maybe it's not. But there has been internal struggle and there's been infighting at the Ethereum Foundation recently. A lot of them, Ethereum Foundation tokens have been getting sold, and there's some chaos inside the Ethereum Foundation. There's like a split in the leadership. Vitalik is now saying that he's going to take control of it again. And so that is why I think Ethereum is being suppressed, of the internal issues, the lack of direction, the vision is not clear. So, I mean, that'll change at some point. But I think Chainlink is doing fine. I think it's fairly valued, and a lot of other things are overvalued. Chainlink, I'll just say this: Chainlink deserves to be at its rank. It deserves it. A lot of other things might not.
So rather than it being undervalued, it's more likely that there's just overhype in the other plays, is what you're kind of saying there.
I think Chainlink is going to follow the overall market for the foreseeable the future. Like, it's going to be locked in with crypto, in lockstep, moving with the market. It's going to be one of the most solid blue chip coins you can possibly get on the market. And a lot of other things, you're going to see them come and go, but Chainlink will probably just stick. And that's kind of what I mean, in essence.
Yeah, I hear that. And I want to also, I've seen a number of people ask about Cerebro. So I'm going to show you and I like Cerebro. I'm going to show you all a very ugly chart. It's really hard to find the bullishness in this, other than the fact that potentially this is a falling channel. We've had two major deviations, obviously above, right back inside, above, kind of riding this right back inside. For me, I don't see a setup on this unless you have a longer term sort of time horizon on this, because this very well could even, this is not a small drop. If we look at this from here, measured, that's another 25-30% drop just to get back down to the lower side of this. If this does break down here, or basically double bottom into this zone, or even potentially a little higher, I would wait for a break out of this and on a retrace, seeing where the bulls come in to sort of find a confirmed move on that. But again, I think the AI sector, unless there's a massive news story that comes out in the coming days, or a reversal in NVIDIA, or reversal just in general, I think we might see a little bit of uncertainty within the AI markets right now. But I also wanted to throw it back over to Mr. Matthew Hyland, because Matthew Hyland is the dog master. You're the one that put me on the dog, and we got
I had the Chainlink charts pulled up. I want to.
All right, we got 7 minutes left. So let's do Chainlink, and then
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do Chainlink, and then we'll do the Chainlink chart, and then we'll wrap it out with dog. Let me find your screen. Hold on one second. Boom. That's not it. There we go. All right, let's go.
Yeah, so just to add on to what Kevin was saying about Chainlink, this is the Chainlink Bitcoin chart. And this has been in a downtrend for 5 years almost now. This was August of 2020, this high. So this has a lot of opportunity, right? If this ever were to break out of this high up here, this last previous high of 0.00044, that would be the time really to back the truck up on Chainlink, in my opinion, right? If it could ever break above this, right? It got rejected off of this last January or February, has continued to make lower highs this whole way down. This was a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, another lower high, and then lower lows too. But if it can change this trend structure, this would be a huge opportunity for Chainlink. So I actually just put an alarm right here. Maybe this happens when Chainlink is like $50 or $100. Maybe that's when in USD price it breaks out and makes a higher high against Bitcoin. But if it ever gets above this, this would still be almost a 4x just to the high against Bitcoin. So I think that this is something to watch. If you look at Chainlink Ethereum, this chart is interesting too, right? Ethereum hasn't been performing as well. So this looks a lot better than the Bitcoin chart. And this is almost coming up to this resistance area. So if it can get through this against Ethereum, it'll probably really start to outperform Ethereum once again. It has gone sideways essentially since this was September of 2021. So it's been 4 years. It's just been kind of going sideways against Ethereum. But if it can break out of this, essentially, this would be the this would be very good for Chainlink. So both these charts, keep an eye on, especially against Bitcoin. If it can ever get a higher high, would be great for Chainlink long term. I think Chainlink fundamentally is probably one of the stronger coins, but price wise, it hasn't kept up or it's been underperforming essentially. But I mean, that's not saying much. So a lot of pretty much everything has, but I think fundamentally it has strong fundamentals. So if it can get that breakout against Bitcoin, that would probably be a great sign for it. Let's go over to Dog now. Let's see this chart. For this chart, I'm looking on the weekly time frame. TradingView is so annoying. They like always mess this stuff up. Hold up. I'm not sure if this happens to you, but these like settings for the RSI always get reset somehow constantly for me, and I'll like save it and have to redo it every few weeks. So the weekly RSI for this is completely reset. So at this point, I'm looking for some sort of bullish divergence, maybe if it can make a lower low on RSI and then a higher low on price. That'd be the first ever hidden weekly bullish divergence in its history. I don't think the narrative has really changed on this coin. I think the community is stronger than ever. It has had a significant pullback, like most coins, holding up better than a lot of the memes are comparatively, but obviously also down a lot. So we'll see if it can make this weekly RSI and then turn around from there. I still, I think this will end up doing well in the end, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I love it.
Sure
you sent me I think a text message the other day with the comparison between 2 or 3 different coins as well. And, you're the one that put me on the sort of fractal comparison with Pepe as well. Do you think some of those same comparisons are still in order where, because everybody's getting this sort of like uncertain vibe within crypto generally right now. And to me, that usually when we get there, that tends to be when the script is flipped and, everybody's gets to max bearishness. And then you have, basically 5X, 10X breakouts across the board out of nowhere 2 weeks after that. So are you seeing that likelihood is still in, or are you still trapped in the sort of uncertainty a lot of the market is?
Well, speaking of Pepe, right? So this was a year ago. I actually called Pepe down here before it did 26X essentially. And it had similar structure, right? It had these moves up. If you look at this structure right here, from here to here, this was around the same time frame as well. This was October to February or January. Pepe was down essentially at this point 80% from the all-time high. It made this weekly bullish divergence down here. So if Dog can do the same thing, I think it has a similar setup, similar market cap as well as a year ago.
So if we want a 20X, we buy Dog.
I would think, yeah. But you know, with anything in crypto, it's hard to like predict a 20X, but I think it would have a better opportunity than a lot of alts. Like if you picked out an alt and said, oh, I think it's going to do a 20X, it's hard.
Well, I actually picked up some.
It's not favorable odds.
Talk about it, so I'm hoping for a 20X.
Wait, Kev, you picked up some Dog? You're on the Dog team now?
Yeah. Because Matt's very confident in it, and me and Matt are friends. I was like, all right, I'll support your bags.
I think from a risk reward opportunity, the risk reward is there. So Pepe was the same thing last year. People didn't want to buy it, and then when it was up, up here 10X, people were like, oh, how do I buy it? How do I buy it? Or what do you think it's going to go higher? I'm like, that ship has kind of sailed. Like, I don't know. Not the same opportunity.
You're muted, Kelly. You're muted.
There we go. I'm very confident on where we're at right now in the market, even though it feels kind of scary. I mean, everybody's so worried right now with the 10% dip. We're still holding in the $100,000 range, even with the larger dip from here. In fact, I have some money on the sidelines that's coming in about 2 weeks. And because of that, I have a bias that I really want to dip. I want the market to dip further because I know I'm going to be deploying capital into the market in about 2 weeks. But there's no telling because we've seen this in the past. We saw, I think it was 11 moves of 15% or more on 2017 on the way up. I think 8 of those moves were 26 to 40% or more in 2017. And we're getting a 10% dip here with the crypto-focused administration with executive orders that basically are outlining the setup of the most empowering things that we could have for this market. And the biggest asset managers on earth pushing financial products. Banks are about to be able to get involved with crypto as well. Whether you like that or not for Bitcoin, definitely does add a huge number of capital channels, as well as allowing this whole different dynamic in the market with Bitcoin and lending products within banks, which will allow a lot less sell pressure when people want to basically utilize their asset as basically collateral to basically get money in the real world. So I think it's this cycle is anyone's guess, but I know that I'm super bullish here. And again, I just want to shout out to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you all for being part of the community and tuning into these types of streams. Let's all keep our heads up. Kev, how about you? Do you have any closing thoughts here before we go? And then we'll get to Matt, and then we'll wrap it out.
Yeah, I was going to say that everyone's hype about Cardano, and people talk crap on Chainlink, but they've had the same percentage gain since June of 2023.
Trying to find, there we go.
Yeah, they've been both very similar.
And so people are like, oh, Chainlink, blah, 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 blah. But then everyone's like, oh, Cardano's the best. I'm like, look at the chart. It's the same. They're actually neck and neck. They're like competing really closely right now. So, I mean, in my mind, there should be just as much hype for Chainlink. But Cardano has, I don't know what it is, the community, the marketing, it's very powerful. The Link Marines need to get back in action, I think. That's what they've been hibernating or retiring or something.
5 years.
So
it's been 5 years.
Link Marines need to come back in full force.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm still stacking every time I get capital. I've got conviction. I'm here to ride the dragon. Matt, do you have any closing thoughts here?
I think just zoom out. A lot of people get sucked into like the story of the day or like the news of the week. Historically, 2017, 2021, really good for altcoins. So we have, the odds on our side at the end of the day, right? Otherwise, if those years weren't good for altcoins, I probably wouldn't, be as confident. I probably would not be in altcoins, but history says that this will end up being a good year. So we'll see how it ends up playing out in the end.
Yeah, I was going to say one last thing I was going to say is the beginning of this cycle is heavy from the Fed, and I think it's going to loosen towards the end. Versus last cycle, it was really light at the beginning and then got heavy at the end. So I think as the cycle plays out, the pressure will come off the market and the higher risk assets will do better towards the end of the cycle.
I agree. And everybody thinks it's easy when you see these 4-year cycles. It's going to go exactly as predicted. And then you get involved with it. And as much as it is doing that, these 1 hour these 1 hour charts, 50-minute charts make you feel more frustrated than you could ever be. I'm still very excited about this year with the landscape we have basically built before us and, the world stage that crypto is on now. And so I look at any dip right now as a gift, just so long as you can have the conviction not to chop yourself out if you do buy and it dips further. But let's not make sure everybody out there, as exciting as this is, don't put your rent money on the market expecting it to double within a week, and then that's when the market goes down. It's when you have longer term, a little bit longer term time horizon. You don't overexpose yourself, or you take advantage of it. But again, Matthew Hyland, Kevin Svenson, I got your charts also right here. Let me just share this. Boom, Matthew Hyland. Everybody make sure you're following him right there. And then, of course, Kevin Svenson at Kevin Svenson _ at Matthew Hyland _ and coming back to the main guys. Thank you guys so much for popping on here. I love having our Monday bro time together, getting in the charts. And again, everybody that's tuned in, thank you. Make sure you're following these gentlemen. Make sure you're following us here at BitLab Academy. And with that being said, I think that's all we got today. Let the markets do their work. Take advantage of it. Dips or gifts. That's all we got. Thank you guys.
Peace
Adios.
out.
Muchachos.
Yeah.